Hey everyone, we got a lot of big news coming out of Tesla's latest quarterly earnings report, and in this video I'll share some of the biggest items that came out, or at least one of the bigger items that came out from that report that I think is a really big deal, that I think Tesla stock investors should pay close attention to. So let's jump right into it.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, so the item I'm going to be talking about here in this video is that Tesla said that they should allow them to be up to 3 million vehicles of capacity when realized to the full extent. Now, in 2023, they produced roughly 1.8 million vehicles for the year. And so with a 3 million vehicle capacity, that leaves room for 1.2 million units of growth without needing to add new manufacturing capacity. Investors cheered this news. I think this is underestimated how much this is causing Tesla's stock price to increase. Many investors might be thinking it's the lower priced model or maybe news on the robo-taxi, but I think this news is being overshadowed. Similar to when, remember, Rivian several weeks ago announced its lower priced models going from the R1 to the R2. But in that same announcement, they said they were going to be pausing production of their manufacturing facility of an expansion, saving a couple of billions of dollars in spending on expansion. And that sent the stock price soaring. Many thought that it was the lower priced models causing the price to soar. But I thought that it was news on the pause in production that caused the stock price to soar. And let me elaborate on that. The EV industry is in oversupply. There's too much supply compared to consumer demand. So that imbalance is a big deal because that leads to what you're seeing now in the competitive pricing pressure, in prices being cut, in price wars, in more incentives, more advertising needed to support sales. And if you've got too much manufacturing capacity, you can't bring that down. You can't flex that down. It's not like if you have, let's say, 20 employees, and let's say you have a barbershop and you have 20 employees and you see customer demand decreasing, you could cut down your barbers and say, you know what, we just need 15 this month because demand is not going to be strong. And then next month when it's strong, you can increase employees again. When you have manufacturing capacity of, let's say, 5 million units and demand is only going to be 2 million units on the year, you can't flex that down. That's a permanent capacity expansion that's there likely for the very long term. And car manufacturing facilities, they can't really be used for anything else. If you have a barbershop and it turns out that people aren't coming to your barbershop anymore, you can change that location with relatively little spending to turn it into something else. Maybe if it's not working well as a barbershop, you could change it into a nail salon with relatively little spending. With the car manufacturing facility, you can't really change that to anything else without a considerable amount of spending that might make it so detrimental that you might as well just, if you're planning to use it for something else, you might as well tear the whole thing down and build something new because they're so purpose-built with all the robotics and all the lineups and everything that they need to produce cars. So the car industry overall, you've been hearing me talk about how I dislike car industries, how I dislike car companies because of those competitive dynamics. Supply comes online in the industry in big batches, right? A new manufacturing facility brings online tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of more capacity. But at the same time, the older capacity that was in the market to begin with is still there. And so you have, especially since the boom in EV stocks in 2020 and 2021, actually I should call it a frenzy, not even a boom. It gave many of these newer EV companies billions and billions, tens of billions of dollars, if not hundreds of billions for the industry overall to add new manufacturing capacity in a car industry that was already oversupplied to begin with. That's why you remember before 2020 when there was the supply chain shortages. Before that, if you go into a car dealership, to buy a $35,000 car, if you negotiate well, you can get discounts of over $5,000 and more incentives to purchase that $35,000 car because there's an oversupply. So dealerships and car companies compete against each other to capture your sale. They slash prices to get that sale because they have that manufacturing capacity. They want to produce all the units that the manufacturing capacity allows them to produce because that brings down their cost per unit, and that allows them to sell at lower prices. If they produce 20,000 units, the cost will be much higher than if they produce 50,000 units, if their capacity is 50,000 units. So they want to produce all the units that they have the capacity to produce, and then once they're produced, they try to sell them in the market. Even if it means slashing prices, they still want to sell those extra incremental units in the market. Even if those next 10,000 units sell at zero profit, it allows them to sell the other 30 or 40,000 units at a better profit margin. So the industry has been plagued with oversupply for over a decade now. And then adding the new supply from EV companies makes that situation even worse. Because overall, if you look at the industry, I know people like to separate it, EV industry, internal combustion engine, hybrids, etc., right? Overall, these are cars, transportation. People buy these for transportation to get from one place to another. And if you can fill that need, if you can solve that problem as a consumer with a hybrid or with a internal combustion engine or from an electric vehicle, those are your choices. That's the set of consumer choices you're looking at. And if you have more choice, there's more capacity in the industry overall, then the suppliers of that industry are going to need to work harder to get your sale. And so that's what the industry has been plagued with for a long time, and it's only gotten worse. And you're seeing that in the price wars for EVs. So by Tesla announcing that, look, we're not talking about a new manufacturing facility anymore. Remember a couple of quarters ago, they were talking about adding capacity in Mexico and adding more capacity so that they can get up to 10 or 20 million units. They're not talking about that anymore because they've realized that consumer demand for these electric vehicles is not that strong. And when compared with the supply that's available, there's a huge mismatch. And they're realizing that now. Rivian reduced its expansion plans, Tesla reducing its expansion plans, Ford, GM, Stellantis, legacy automakers reducing their expansion plans, all of them realizing that there's too much supply. And the collective decisions of all of these companies to reduce expansion will help bring the industry into better supply and demand balance. It's going to take a lot of these types of decisions to bring the industry into better balance. It's still not there yet, but these types of decisions from the likes of Tesla will help the industry get to better balance. So that's why investors were cheering this news like, oh, great, you're not making another manufacturing facility to try and increase sales, because that wouldn't be a smart move. That would be adding capacity to an industry that's already oversupplied. So that's what caused many investors to cheer and to send Tesla's stock price higher. Now, this wasn't the only reason, right? Announcement of the lower priced model and progress on the robo-taxi also helped. But this, in my opinion, was also a big reason for the optimism around Tesla stock. Before I let you go, let me tell you about the greatest deal on YouTube. With just a click of a button, you can get free financial analysis from a professor with decades of investing experience. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.